All right, so the last story here, the U.S. is looking to give aid to Gabon to keep China out. So the U.S. is working on a military and economic aid package for Gabon as part of a deal to keep the Chinese military out of the African nation. This was reported by Bloomberg on Friday. So sources told Bloomberg that the agreement would include training Gabon's special forces and $5 million in funding for the country's democratic transition. The report did not say how much the U.S. is willing to spend on the military assistance. So there was just a coup in Gabon. The U.S. suspended some of its aid to Gabon last year following a coup that ousted Ali Bongo, the country's president since 2009. So the Bongo family ruled over Gabon for decades. Before Ali was president, his father, Omar Bongo, had ruled since 1967. So I don't know much about Gabon. I just know that that family was in power and they were overthrown last summer. And now the U.S. wants to give them some military aid. And this new aid package for Gabon has not been finalized, and it's expected to be unveiled when Brice Oligui Nguema, who is a military officer acting as Gabon's transitional president, so basically the leader of the post-coup government, he's visiting Washington at the end of September or in early October, and the U.S. is expected to announce some new military aid for him. U.S. military officials have been warning for years that China is seeking to establish a military base on Africa's Atlantic coast. I'm not sure how legitimate those warnings are, if China is really looking to do that. China does have a naval base in Djibouti on the east coast of Africa, and that was China's first foreign military base. The U.S. has about 750 to 800 military bases worldwide, including many near China. But sources told Bloomberg that a Chinese base on the Atlantic Ocean is a red line for the U.S., even though, I mean, Gabon is far. It's on the equator, so it's very far from the U.S., but still, it's a red line for the U.S. So this is the idea here. Give them some military aid, essentially a bribe to not let China establish a military presence. U.S. officials say that China is looking to establish some sort of naval training facility for their military here. But China does have other ways. You know, the way that China has expanded its influence in Africa has been through the, funding infrastructure projects and things like that. And the U.S. has also tried to push back on that stuff, of course. It's interesting to see kind of the dynamic, the difference in China's approach to Africa and the U.S. The U.S. has all these military bases and drone bases, and China is focusing on, building roads and things like that.